Alright, welcome guys. So I wanted to offer up a correction sort of video here about the previous time that I was covering this topic with Sweet Baby Inc. Now, I said that this looked like a front-facing company, and I mentioned how when I was looking at their website, I was like, something odd about this website, right? Feels like a kind of odd shadow organization, shadow company. If we go to their homepage though, and here's the thing that I want to make very clear with this video, and this is for a clarification, all right? Without a doubt, I wholeheartedly believe that Sweet Baby Inc. is a franchise company. You look at Sweet Baby Inc. and all it is ESG. ESG has been with us, as far as I understand it, halfway through Obama's term, or well, throughout the halfway point of his overall terms, right? So I would argue it's somewhere probably 2012 or 2013. He did something, and I would be really interested to actually, it's probably classified or something, like, where are we going to find those documents? I mean it. Without a doubt, though, it would be interesting if there were documents on it, but without a doubt, Obama, because ESG works with the government, they're taking our money and they're redistributing it, and now we're just having franchise companies built off the back of ESG. I think without a doubt, Obama is the one that started all this somewhere around 2012, 2013, because very shortly around that time period, right, people started to hear about ESG. It was going on, I believe, somewhere in 2014, 2015, that people were talking about it within high-up companies. But of course, I didn't hear about it, and people weren't really spreading much news about it until around like 2016, 2017. But all of this has been going on for a long time, and we've been noticing that everything's been changing very slowly but very rapidly. So like, even since like 2013 or around that time period, you had games like Overwatch. That was an ESG game without a doubt. Just by identity, right? The way that it casted all the women and how we have this diversity squad of all these random people of different races, and Tracer has to be a random lesbian. And again, it was just diversity squad the game. And when I look at this website here, right? Just look at how weird it is. Okay, so we have all this information. It looks like they made changes since the last time I looked at it. Because I was noticing that after I had done the original video, I was looking at the site and I was like, oh, they changed it. So they've added some more kind of clarifications, it looks like, around here. I don't think my cursor is showing on the screen. That's a whoopsies. But anyways, you know, you got outreach here. Now that's ahead of projects on this page. You have show me more, show me more, show me more, which I heard someone say it. I totally agree. And this was something I was kind of saying in the last video. They're a boogeyman and they're playing as a boogeyman. And again, when I was saying like, this feels fake, this feels like bait for conservatives to get upset, right? I mean, look at this. Show me more, show me more. They know what they're doing. They want to poke the bear. With their website, they know that they're taking over the industry, and they really get off on doing it. And they get off on you coming to their website, which, again, they don't have real clients. No one's coming to these people. They literally have gotten their clients through ESG, through the government. Look at that. Look at the way it doesn't even repeat itself correctly. Did you just saw that, right? Dude, it says show me more, and then it eventually ends at the bottom of the to the left of the screen, and then the animation just restarts. Well, seriously, this is such a weird website because the entire way that it is designed, it's so lazy and thrown together. Seriously, it's so easy to make something like this. It's crazy to me to be just looking at a website like this. But I think if you go into projects too, they updated with some quotes. Where is it? It's approach. Yeah, somewhere in here. Yeah, I don't think these quotes were here last time. Risk and opportunities assessment. I don't remember this right here. I don't remember reading this. So I think they made some updates, which is weird because to me, the website was dead. It seems like they also updated this. If you look at some of their interviews and some of the speeches that the lousy CEO chick, who happens to, it looks like she's biracial. Go make sense of that, right? Gee, I wonder why she's woke. Yeah, you know, man. Yeah, okay, they definitely made changes here, without a doubt. Yeah, I look at this site and I look at everything going on, and you look at some of their speeches that they give, like the CEO, the chick CEO, Boss Babe CEO, and how she talks about forcing companies and make them fear what you might do if they do not comply. Come on, dude. It's just, bro, these are war tactics. And I've also heard recently that a Steam page was made to detect Sweet Baby Inc. games, which it's not going to matter that much. This is as I'm saying with this video, ESG is a franchise company, and this is a franchise branch, Sweet Baby Inc. There's going to be more of these. You're going to need to identify games, not by the company. You're going to have to identify them like we always should have and like we always needed to. And the only way that you can ever truly know is by ideology. You look at these games that are coming out. You look at the movies, you look at the television shows. You look at what's going on. Okay? Wait, hold on a second. I think this is new too here. With a focus on user experience and emotional design. What the emotional design? What the frick, dude? What absolute jokes. These are people. These are the people who think that they deserve to have jobs. Somehow they don't deserve to be homeless with their policies and their woke states. I don't know. I think they should live with the people that they voted for. Anyway. But this is the issue, is that we need to be looking at these games based upon the lens of their ideology and the blueprints of their politics. Okay? Games with female blacksmiths. So, for instance, Diablo 4. Games with a bunch of very egalitarian, incredibly egalitarian makeups between men and women. For some reason, women are placed into the same roles as men. For some reason, women are suddenly warriors. Suddenly, they're scientists. Suddenly, they're doing all the things that men have always done all throughout history. Suddenly, you're in a game. And for some reason, in the cultural region that you're in, whatever that game is, typically right now it's happening to all the white regions in white games. Viking, European, whatever. You're going to find random black people and other people of melanin in a story, or even not that, just even Chinese or some Asian descent. You're going to find random people who have nothing to do with Anglo-Saxon heritage. And you're asking yourself, what's going on there? And of course, we all know they want to replace white stories. These are ideological warriors. That is their entire purpose. That's their entire point behind what they're doing. And you look at everything they do. So this is a somewhat shorter video here, and I'm just making the point very clear. Sweet Baby Inc. is a franchise branch off of the franchise company, which is ESG. Without a doubt, ESG started somewhere in 2012, 2013, because also you have to work on these movies, right? And we started noticing a lot of the wokeness a little bit after that time, right? I would say that the wokeness, yeah, definitely was seeping in around that time with superhero movies like Marvel. When was it, right? It was it 2015 that we saw Force Awakens? Pretty sure that was when it was. I don't give a crap anymore. Screw that movie. But, you know, we were seeing the ESG happen pretty much around that time frame of the midway point of Obama's overall presidency. So without a doubt, and then of course we saw it go into full drive around after the time of Trump being elected. and then it just went into overdrive, right? It went full blast. That was when we got the last of the frickin' Mohicans, right? You had Metal Gear Solid 5, and that was a good game. It wasn't terribly woke. I can't even remember anything woke there. Just sexy women, masculine men, good characters overall, great story. The story was about a narrative. We had games like Final Fantasy 15. We had Witcher 3 around that time as well. I can think of a bunch of other games. I mean, those are the games that really stood out to me during that time frame. But we had a ton of other games. I think we had the newer Wolfenstein games, which, by the way, the first one was not woke. Quickly, it got woke. And I think it was called The New Colossus, Wolfenstein 2, and then Youngblood that came out after that. And I think Old Blood 2 was a little bit woke. I don't remember the first one being woke. I think I finished that twice or something. I don't remember any bit of it being woke. I just think it was literally a story about the Americans going up against the 1930s dudes, right? Germany dudes. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything woke, but quickly, man, it ramped up. And they randomly started throwing, I think in Berlin or whatever it was, I forget what region, but white people region, for some reason, black woman, who I think was a boss babe while being pregnant. They then boss babed Blazkowicz's, I guess, chick, his wife, I guess air quotes on wife, and she was pregnant and naked with guns, and it was just a ridiculous scene. It was like, what the frick? And she landed face first on her 8 months pregnant belly before wielding those 2 assault rifles and going Blazkowicz mode, which was just ridiculous. And oh my gosh, it was so disgusting. And just them doing that, it's like, come on, man. They're just trying to make women out to be like men. And then you have the fact that Blazkowicz's father was supposed to be this like hateful, bigoted conservative, and he was calling Blazkowicz a queer at one point. It was so stupid. And then it got worse with Youngblood, where Blazkowicz's twins are just basically college lesbian liberals, and they were insufferable. And there was a bunch of wokeness there, you know. But that was just, that was like crystalline wokeness right there. But I mean, we've been seeing this with Assassin's Creed. We've been seeing this especially with them going gender neutral with the main character, right? Ever since Assassin's Creed Origins. Well, there's a reason they did that, you know? And so this is the thing, is that you look at a lot of these games that are coming out, man, this has been going on for a long time. It was slowly happening during Obama's presidency. They were slowly trickling it in. To me, what I think happened, this is just me talking, but I think what happened is that Trump got elected. Obviously, they assumed that Americans are just completely sold on egalitarianism, wokeness. They were wholeheartedly down bad for it. And they assumed we could just slowly seep in for the bigoted conservatives. We can slowly seep in the propaganda. Then it was once Trump fought back by speaking up against fake news. People were supporting him. They were done with illegitimate leaders who obviously have very fanatical socialist, communist, fascist, ideological convictions. And also these people are just hell-bent on not servicing you, but rather servicing themselves through your taxation. And of course, again, destroying your cultural heritage, right? Specifically American heritage, which is Western heritage, is Anglo-Saxon heritage, white background, white culture. And that can come from multiple different regions, but somewhere centralized around England, right? And somewhere across the European Union, but ultimately, that's what America is. That's what Americans are. The more you try to change Americans from what they ever were, the less we will become America, and the more America will die. Fundamentally, you replace white people in America, and it's no longer America, is no longer, right, that idea of the city on the hill, as some people give a crap about when Reagan said that. And everything else that identifies the traditionalism of America is dead. The simple truth of it is that Other racial groups do not hold the same values as Americans and as America and as the heritage of America. That's why they went over from their countries to our countries, because this also happens right now in the European Union, but all the countries within there. You specifically see this happening in white countries, that melanin countries are pouring into the white countries. And it's because there is a difference there that they do not prefer to our differences in the white locales. And so that's what you have. You have a lot of cultural pillaging going on. You have a lot of economic pillaging going on, political pillaging going on right now. And that is a part of wokeness. Part of wokeness is to deconstruct race, gender, intersexual relations, reality as we know it. And that's a whole other thing, right? Today, people are so obsessed with the fantasy mind rather than the reality mind. Well, the simple truth of the matter is, we've forgone our basic, primordial psychology, the psychology that has served us for generations. And now, what you will see for the longest time moving forward is mental illness. Because mental illness, by the way, does not exist. It's called mental sabotage. When you tell yourself something that isn't true, and when you tell other people something that isn't true, reality is going to have a dysfunction with you. When that occurs, you will inherently possess chaos within your life. And we think chaos is a silly, funny word because so many people use it now, and because so many people utilize the word. Well, not everyone's utilizing the word to its fullest extent, and its fullest measure, and its fullest quality. So what happens? What's the issue here? The word loses its meaning. Chaos is very real. And when someone's mind is possessed by chaos, they become erratic, unstable. They will have emotional fits and episodes. You can't control yourself. You will blow up at times. You won't know which way is up. You don't have any sense of discernment. You don't know what decisions to make. You don't know how to guide or lead your life. You become rudderless and someone has to lead you. You become a sheep. You become a slave. You are no longer a master of your own home. And that is what happens. When you allow yourself to be mentally sabotaged by others and yourself, this is what you become. You become a slave. You become a psychological recluse, where your only home now is the erratic current of emotional turbulence. So again, this is the issue that we're seeing here, is that a lot of this wokeness, the entire purpose of it, right? Not only to demoralize you, but also to destroy you. It is to replace you. And one of the things about this is that you look at what's going on globally between different cultures and groups, and it's very clear that the possession of white cultures is far preferred. And we're seeing that these white cultures are being pillaged. We see that they're being torn apart. And once these countries have been torn apart, and as they're being pillaged, and as they're being infiltrated, what do you think is happening? They won't be the same country anymore. It becomes a country of expatriates. Becomes a country where it's lost its ideals, it's lost its virtues, it's lost its heritage, its traditions, everything that gave it rigidity, which therein means stability. That very thing has now been tossed away with, and quite frankly, it's been killed, murdered in cold blood. And that's what they're doing here. And that's what you have to see. You have to see it for what it is. And you have to understand that once these countries become less and less white, and just like how movies and television and games become less and less much like our tradition and our heritage, the more it is destroyed, the more it is corroded, the uglier it gets in more ways than one, and the more contemptible it therein becomes as well. No one enjoys any of this wokeness, and it's amazing to see it. So many have been convinced of this false narrative, this false idea, this false belief, this sense of gaslighting, of putting yourself in shackles and chains, that you accept onto yourself the demoralization and the begetting of cultural sabotage and cultural slavery. And of course, there is no issue with a stronger group taking over a weaker group. As we've seen in history, that civilizes nations, that makes greater use of a region, of an area. It makes those people stronger. And ultimately, the truth of the world is that the strongest survive, and they must survive. It makes no sense, this idea that the weakest must survive, or that the weakest are equally viable or equally necessary to the strong, because the weak will always drag down the strong. It will always be the strong that will have to break their backs for the sake of the weak, if you believe that there's anything to share with the weak. There's more to it than that. It's also access to resources, and ultimately, a weak civilization that is incompetent within its own self does not deserve its resources. A strong nation will make the most and the best use of resources, and they ought to have those resources. Most specifically, the strongest nations will always create the most innovations. They will always be the most productive with those resources. And the more resources they have, the more they can create beautiful architecture, beautiful artwork, beautiful stories, strong and competent, capable children. The real world is a competition. And these types of people hate competition. And therefore, as weak as they are, they have to go out of their way to control the world so that they can create a system and a process and a reality which is enforced by them, to which they can win, which is always based on the slavery of the strong. And if they can afford to enslave the strong, then they have afforded themselves their own entitlements, their own entitled security. It's important to understand this when you're looking at these companies, how they wish to undermine the countries which they're pillaging. So ESG has been going on for a long time. There are many franchise companies. It's not just right up here, Sweet Baby Inc. It's not just them. They're just a face of many. And that's the truth. These activists have many companies that we haven't heard of. I don't think they worked on Diablo 4, but all of the ESG notions that you see in gaming was showing up in Diablo 4. And of course, that's just one game. You can say also Remnant 2. You can also say Pal World. And by the way, these companies, they market on their wokeness. Strong female here. Oh, we have diversity there. Oh, we have someone that doesn't know what the frick they are in real life over there. Each and every single one of these companies, including the ones I mentioned, they literally have marketing material for wokeness. Okay? This is all. When you see it, when you see the blueprint being played out right before you, that is exactly what they intend. Their political ideology. No other way about it. And it's many people who have convinced themselves, who have gaslit themselves through, in some sense, generational amnesia, because it seems like some people have forgotten even what normal values within America is. And that's really where this war is being held right now. Of course, America is exporting this wokeness, because now we're seeing the same wokeness within Japanese companies and games. Some examples I can give, Yakuza. Another example I can give, the Tales Arise game that I played, but they're called the Tales series. That's also woke. You have Persona 5 specifically. That's also woke. Differing angles and levels of wokeness, but ultimately has a lot of this egalitarian, a lot of this subversive content within their games that strays away from core reality and core traditionalism. And that is their war. They want to remove reality. They want to remove gender roles. They want to remove race. They want to remove cultural heritage. They want to androgynize you. They want to remove you from the real world. They want you to believe in their made-up ethics and their made-up premises and realities. That's what they wish for with you. And of course, right here, right? These are the clients. I don't think they've changed the clients. But that's what they're doing. And you can't forget games like, for instance, Electronic Arts has been woke for a long time now. You know, I think of, there's some game, now I'm forgetting it, somewhere in around 2012, 2013 though, they were going woke with certain things. Obviously, they were working with ESG. By the way, Rockstar, they're also woke, and they're also employing many of the same things as these other companies, working with ESG and or Sweet Baby Inc. and or other random secondary companies. Whatever it is, there's so many games that are following the same blueprints. And it's been happening since around 2012, 2013, very slowly back then. You could spot a couple of games that were doing it, but then it really, right, around the time of Overwatch, then 2014, and just starts to snowball after that. So again, right, without a doubt, it had to start, maybe even started in 2010. I mean, I don't know how long some of these games took to make, if I'm being honest. Right? When you look at, it was one of those EA games. I completely forget what it is. Titanfall, right? That wasn't woke. But Apex Legends came out, as I remember it, that came out 2015. I don't think it was 2014. So how long was that in development, right? But the Titanfall games were not woke. Now, of course, I think they're actually working on Titanfall 3. And now they're looking to diversify Titanfall 3. Great. But when I look back on like Apex Legends, that was crazily woke. And, you know, we don't even have to get into that, but they were trying to go full on ESG with that game in so many ways. And they were very blatant about it. Even turning Bloodhound into a non-binary. Like, what is going on here, man? This has been going on for a long time. I don't know how long Apex Legends took to make, right? Some games take a while to make. So who knows truly when the ESG started? Let's just be honest. Because I would theorize it was around 2012, 2013, basically after Obama got his second term or whatever. But I can see it too, that it was also starting up in some maybe smaller form in 2010. Whatever the case might be, it's been seeping into all of our games. Square Enix has gone woke as well, right? Involving a gay character. No one wants that. No one wants to see it. Stop. The guy was supposed to be straight. I don't know why they did that. Oh, right. ESG. And again, they're outsourcing. They're exporting. Sorry, not outsourcing. They're exporting their wokeness. This is infecting many companies in many different regions outside of Japan. So any hope that we have, right, of any game studio, any company not being woke, it really comes down to the fact we are home growing our wokeness. We have been home brewing our ideological fanaticism, and now it's here. And this is the issue, right, is so, right, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because I've been hearing that suddenly a lot of people are talking about Sweet Baby Inc. recently, which for a while nobody was actually talking about it. So I'm actually kind of surprised that around the time I did my own video that now a lot more other people are talking about it too. But it doesn't matter, because it seems like there's a lot of people, and I don't know how much I believe myself when I say this, so like part of me believes it, right? From so far my perspectives, that a lot of people seem to believe that it's Sweet Baby Inc. themselves. They don't seem to understand that it's a franchise company, or rather it's a branch from the franchisor, which is ESG. ESG has been going on for so long, and really first it was looking to take over, right, a lot of large companies. It very quickly, we had taken over all of our cable and all of our official broadcasting, you know, like sports, and that was going woke very quick. But obviously they've been doing this for a long time. Just see wherever the wokeness has really been sprouting up the hardest, and that's where you're getting artificial push up, if we're being honest. And I can think about this in so many ways, because we've had so many ups and downs with wokeness in our culture. You have certain personalities who are pushed really hard, and it's like, who's following this person, and they fill a very specific tokenized ideological purpose. I wonder why they're doing this, right? Maybe you can think of a couple of examples, but then I think about, and I'll fill in a little bit of the silence on that one, makeup tutorials, right? You have nothing to do with makeup tutorials, and you're getting pushed their content. And you're like, why is this person that is not the type of person you would see making makeup tutorials and other things that are very non-straight? Why are you seeing their content flood your feed or whatnot? Why are you being pushed this stuff when you have the polar opposite of interests? Well, that's very odd. I wonder if they're being pushed. Then you look at the fact that, right, somewhere back in 2010, 2011, we were seeing many forms of wokeness that was showing its way through the universities. But then we also saw it through sports, and we saw it in elements within music. That's where it was being pushed the hardest, and let's be honest, that's where a lot of traffic was, especially back then. Then the traffic moved over to, right, movies, television. Now the traffic has been officially moving over to gaming ever since, let's just be honest, 2016. And it's just ramped up around 2018-ish. Really was 2017, but then 2018, they were really starting to push more stuff. I was seeing a lot of articles about it around that time. And of course now, ever since, and we know the thing that happened in 2020, there's so many things that have been furthermore pushed. And we know that there's tons of pushback on all this because you cannot erase reality. But this is what we see right now, is we're going through multiple phases. There's an entire plan and agenda around this. There's an entire methodology, a blueprint, a schematic that is being used. It's happened in every industry. Now you have to question yourself, which industries have not been touched by this? And this isn't the end right now with gaming, what it's going through. But I'm going to be honest, the next frontier of wokeness, once they've gone through their gaming and they made a new company that isn't Sweet Baby Inc., it doesn't matter, it's all woke. And it's all being backed by a woke government that's been infiltrated by activists. But let's be clear, they're going to go for AI, that's the future. And they're going to go for some sort of AI-driven content generation, right? We already have many examples of that, but all that stuff's already woke. And it's simply going to propagate itself even further. And it doesn't matter right now until it matters. It's all innocent right now until it's not. Your culture being pillaged doesn't matter until the house is on fire. And the truth of the matter is that people are only waking up because, and most people have been alarmed, right? The redcoats are coming. Paul Revere had told you that this was coming, that this was happening. You know, metaphorical Paul Revere. You know, the smoke signal has been off for a long time. We've seen this wokeness for a long time. And one of the things that's very fascinating seeing all this is you really got to consider it. White people have completely signed up for the erasure of their own culture. They even moralized removing their own culture, destroying their own culture, allowing others to replace them. They've moralized and they've justified to themselves their own removal, their own replacement. It's so funny when we look at all these things because so many people said it doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything. So many people have said that metaphorical Paul Revere guy, you know, he's Looney Tunes, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then what happens, right? People respond when it's too late. The damage has been done, as it's been done to movies for a long time now. It's been done to sports for a long time now. Funnily enough, even with sports, some people are still blind to what's going on. It's really weird. I don't know how many of those people actually exist. It's just weird that that's even still a problem, but okay. But all of this has been going on really for, I would almost argue, ever since 2010, right? I mean, our talk shows got infiltrated as well. A lot of the traditional establishment medias were the ones that got overtaken the quickest and the soonest. And then all the other things that I've mentioned were the ones that got decimated next, right? Including big companies selling you products, whatever, go down the list. They've even gotten to the military ever since then, right? But it's, again, you're seeing it, it's happening everywhere. It's methodical. Seems like every couple of years, let's say 2 or 3 years, they're switching their targets. And again, where is the future? That's what you have to ask yourself. And I said AI, and also augmented or virtual reality. It's one of those two, or both, right? But whichever one takes place first, which really depends. I could see augmented reality taking place first because you need integration with virtual reality in order to make it really enticing for the common individual. So integration is probably going to come last. So that means augmented reality is probably coming next. Of course, what kind of utility does augmented reality really serve? That's the question to ask. And it's probably likely that someone will figure it out, but regardless of the fact, they're going to go for something next. Something that has value, something that they can use to shape the mind. And it's always the same thing. And people, it's so funny seeing people not care until it matters. And it's even more hilarious. You see people who will defend, and they're very disingenuous individuals, by the way. You see people, though, who will defend this political religion that's going on, this dogmatic, fanatic religion of modernism. And it's the second that they start hearing about the problem actually existing, for some reason they let down all the barriers. They let down all the defense. And for some weird reason, they start saying, oh, this is wrong. Oh my gosh, I don't support this. Oh my God, how dare they? Oh, you're right, this is so bad. It's like, well, hold on a minute. You saw this. You knew it was a blueprint. We've been seeing the same crap show up everywhere. It's the same dogmatic religion as it's ever been, and it's being enforced everywhere. It's just once we have a name to call it by, once we spotted the perpetrator, your sleeper cell, your covert operative, then suddenly you're sorry. Then suddenly you care. And there's other layers here of cognitive dissonance that takes place, but these are deceitful individuals. These are political warriors, activists, and their entire purpose is to go to war for their ideological supremacy. In this case, it happens to not only be ideological supremacy, also happens to be their ideological slavery, because they wish to go against God. They wish to go against normality, reality, truth, honesty, sincerity, authenticity. They wish to go against the things which are real, the things which are true. And they wish to fabricate a world, a synthetic, artificial world, made clearly out of perversion and malice. So anyways, I have no clue what the runtime is on this video right now. It's kind of funny because anytime I get into these, I'm like, oh, it'll be short. And then I'm like, well, what the frick, bro? I'm going to start sharing my thoughts. And then it's just going to freaking dovetail into everything else. So anyways, that is the entire purpose for why I wanted to make this video. I just wanted to share my thoughts because things are kind of developing, And the truth of the matter is that I don't know how far it goes, but there's a certain angle, a certain number, a certain group of very ignorant individuals about this topic. They don't realize they're just going to shift their tactics. They don't realize that this is just a face with the body and it's all of its operating cogs. It's moving like a freight train engine. And so whoever it is that you're trying to detect right now is not going to be detectable forever. They have a plan, they have a goal, they have a methodology. And the point of how they're fighting this war is that you never keep up with them, or you're not keeping enough tabs on them to keep track of what they're doing. And what's funny is that even if we were keeping tabs on them, truly, where anytime it sprouts up anywhere, we're like, oh, there you are. Okay, we're calling this out. Well, no one's operating that fast. It's once they're there, and then they've ransacked the village. It's the maimed and dismembered citizens that say, we need a watch group now. Okay, well, you're practically dead right now. You're saying this in the middle of CPR. It's kind of weird. And well, the battle was fought for a long time. You shut your eyes, you closed your ears, and now you want the watch group? Now you want to defend anything? You know? And they're just going to move on to the next village, is the truth. And the next village is doing the same crap. We warned them. You know, we sent over freaking Paul Revere, and he said, hey, what's up? And they were like, you're a freaking bozo, get out of here. Begot. Be gone, you begots. So, as a proper begotch, you run away. And then they get ransacked, they get maimed and dismembered, and then they're like, guys, I think we need a watch group. And it's weird because the guys who raided us, they were wearing differently colored clothing this time than what Paul Revere was telling us about. That's weird. I guess Paul Revere was lying to us, or maybe we just weren't paying much attention. Well, now we are. They're wearing blue coats now instead of red. Oh, and then suddenly, the next village over, it's purple coats. Oh, that's weird. So, that's why I wanted to share. It's interesting seeing this all develop. It's interesting seeing where this all goes. It has a very discernible identity. Without a doubt, it's very easy to tell what all these things are. It's just whether or not people want to be honest with themselves of what it is. And the truth of the matter is, are you willing to accept what the real world and what it's doing to you? Are you willing to accept that truth? Or are you going to create in your mind, in your head, you're going to make up a fantasy reality? Oh, you know, yeah, we're getting culturally invaded. Yes, it's called invasive assimilation, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? You know, there's probably some really moral reason for why we're being invasively assimilated by a very specific group of people who, when they come into our borders, they're going to just turn us from what we are into what they are. But that's totally fine until the problems start showing up, until your neighborhood is maimed and dismembered. Then you want the watch group. My real question, and this is really where my thoughts have been led in seeing all this take place, because this has been happening over the course of the last few days. So that's why I'm kind of unpacking this right now. That's why I'm making this video, because I'm just noticing this whole narrative. Because I was just seeing a couple of things show up, and then it continued, and it's like, okay, now people apparently want a watch group about it, and blah, blah, the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, interesting. But then all these thoughts just kind of culminated into one place. And for me personally, I noticed that Sweet Baby Inc. changed their website as well. And I was like, okay. I mean, it looks like they're really trying to bait the conservatives, because now they realize they're really hitting a chord in the consciousness, in the zeitgeist, the public zeitgeist. And specifically, it looks like, I mean, the founder, by the way, of this company, the franchise branch company, she is an activist through and through. Of course, in the previous video, we've already kind of covered her a little bit. Some of her quotes are just moronic. Then when you see who she is, you're like, oh, it makes sense now. You know, it's like she looks like a moron. The fact that she is moron, I'm not surprised. Okay, so it's after seeing all these developments, it's after seeing them update their page, they want to be a part of the conversation, the national conversation around wokeness, and they want to be striking a chord. They want this to happen. And now, because things are happening, they're starting to add a little bit more dialogue into it, right? I don't remember this stuff being here. I'm just going to be honest. Maybe I could go back into my previous video and see if I find it. I don't really give a crap. I just, sincerely, I don't remember seeing this stuff. Maybe it was there. I have no idea. I know certain things, though, they look different. So whatever it is, man, the point still stands. This is what they want. They want people paying attention to them. They want people talking about them. Why? Because this is what activists desperately desire. They need attention. They need the oxygen from the people who have every reason to hate them, because they are corrosive, destructive warriors of a civilization and a culture that's not only beautiful and has been beautiful in the past, but now they wish to see it decayed, and they wish to engage in their necrophilia, whatever form of necrophilia they wish to enact upon our collective civilizations, whichever one it may be, specifically the ones without melanin. That is where they're getting their rocks off the most. And I'll come back to it here. my honest to God question is this: when are people going to get real about it? Everyone wants a watch group when the village has been maimed and dismembered. But when are people going to get real about it? When are people going to sit there and say, you know what? Okay, fine. It is ridiculous that women in any way are being shown as strong, capable, these boss babe heroes. It's made up, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. We're fed up, it's over, it's done. And anytime you show this to us, no, it's stupid and we're going to denounce you. When is that going to occur? When is it that we see all this other ideological bullcrap, and there's plenty of it, multiculturalism, questioning whether or not you're real, and you know what I mean by that, the whole thing, man. When is it that people will get real and they'll sit there and say, okay, bro, this divorce, this national divorce that is going on, taking place with reality, how we are embracing the fantasy mind. At times we are infected, right, with this woke mind virus, but we are employing, despite that, right, those who have most engaged and sedated themselves through the fantasy mind. They're the ones who are first and foremost most willing to inject the woke mind virus. The question really is, when are people going to get precautious, and when are they going to get serious when it comes down to observing and witnessing their surrounding cultural pillaging? Because for as long as no one is real about this, for as long as no one's honest with themselves, for as long as people say that woke isn't woke, and I mean both sides of the aisle, you have both people. Because let's just be honest, pretty much everyone is a liberal at this point now. You just have a different brand of it with conservatives. They're just woke conservatives. They're just neo-liberals. So this is the real question that we have to ask. At what point are people willing to admit to themselves that water is wet? Because until that day, we are simply and only enabling these fanatical ideological activists. And it is as simple as this. And it started ever since they first started speaking about these stupid topics and these stupid issues, making up reality as they go. And this was happening around pretty much after the 1950s, let's be honest. And that's why so many people like hearkening back to the 1950s, because that was right before everything started making drastic changes. That was before all this ideological possession began. The real question comes down to, however, when are you going to admit to yourself? And this is just a question for so many of these people who act like they're actually truly concerned with these things. When are you going to admit to yourself that these things were never normal, that these things were never acceptable, that you ever letting up on the defensive barrier against the ideological subversion of reality? At what point are you going to be honest with yourself and others around you and say that the world you've been served to is a lie, and that these fanatical beliefs and postmodern religious convictions are not simply innocent, but are a malignant force for your eventual destitution?